October 2017 was a great month for mobile gaming. And as always, GameRanks is here to sort through it for you. I'm Falcon, and today on GameRanks, the 10 best free iOS and Android games of October 2017. Now, as a quick disclaimer, these are only free games. We've also already done a paid list for the month, and that is already up if you're interested. Number 10 is Fingers 2, which is a game that stars your fingers. Now, I did not play the original game, but from what I've gathered, it's not terribly different from this one. That being said, since I came in on this one, the improvements that it brings to the table apparently make it significantly better than the first, so I'm not so sure I'll try the first still. Basically, the crux of the game is you need to have your fingers avoid all the obstacles. The obstacles are all spiky, and if you don't avoid them, well, your fingers die. I find that to be an amusing, enjoyable concept, and it translates really good to gameplay. Number 9 is Game of Thrones Conquest, and the first thing you're going to think is this a Clash of Clans clone? And while the gameplay is definitely rooted in that type of game, I would say that this is a pretty large expansion of a lot of the concepts, and I think that it's done really well. For one, the map is a lot less grid-oriented. It just feels more alive, a little less calculated in how you have to put everything together. Now, it still sticks to a lot of the same principles, it complicates things in a good way. Plus, obviously, having all of the Game of Thrones characters and lots of different regions, it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's a perfect presentation of this kind of game, if you ask me, and there's really no major downfalls. It's not perfect, but it's still kind of also early days for it. They've apparently been sinking tons of money into this game, so I would say they're probably going to listen to feedback and try to make it as good as possible. I've seen their reviews. They do reply, like in the Google Play Store, so we have reason to believe that this will develop into an even better game. Number 8 is Season 2 of the Batman Telltale series. This one's called Batman: The Enemy Within. The first episode is up, and there are some noticeable improvements from the previous season. Now, keep in mind this is an expositional episode, so a lot of explaining what's going to happen over the series arc. That's basically what happens here, but I found it more intriguing than the first episode of the previous season, personally. The first Batman season for me was not perfect. It was interesting and it was cool to do Batman in this format. I thought it worked, but it didn't really move me. I kind of feel like, again, without giving anything away, that this one might actually do that, because it's kind of moving beyond the typical Batman fare. At least it seems like it. That's not to take a crap or anything on the first season. Like I said, I thought it worked. I just think it could have been better, and I think that they know that too, because it feels like this one is going to be. Number 7 is Geostorm. Yes, there is a mobile game based on the movie Geostorm, and we're not going to talk about the movie because, yeah. So Geostorm is a lot like the Square Enix Go games. You can move a square at a time, you push, you pull, you flip switches. It's not actually that difficult to explain. However, this is exceedingly good considering it is not made by the company that originally came up with those ideas. Sticky Studios actually in some areas has made improvements to the formula, if you ask me. Which, if you consider the fact that this is literally the knockoff game of what appears to be one of the worst movies of the last decade, is awesome. You have no idea how happy it makes me when stuff like this happens, where like a simple little mobile game is better than this like $300 million movie. And that's what just happened. Geostorm for iOS and Android is great. The film, not so much. Number 6 is Dragon Project, which is a hybrid of action and strategy, although I would say it leans much more on action than it does strategy. Multiplayer RPG that fans of the Monster Hunter franchise will immediately know what they're getting if they play this game. Now, Capcom made a mobile Monster Hunter game, but they didn't bring it to the global audience. That's where this game comes in. This will fill that hole, period. It's more than competent. This is a really good Monster Hunter styled game. The graphics are great, the controls are great, the fact that you can play co-op multiplayer makes this infinitely more fun, and seriously, truthfully, this is a game that if you're a fan of Monster Hunter and want it on mobile, this is your best choice, period. It's phenomenal. I can't sing this game's praises enough. You have to try it. It's free. What are you doing not trying it? Number 5 is Rutgers Revenge. a game that draws from the Cartoon Network series Gumball. The game is kind of a weird hybrid of a platformer and a physics-based puzzle game, and I'll be honest, I have no complaints. That is great. In all seriousness, this game plays really cool. It's not the easiest thing to explain, but if you're looking at the footage of the game, it's actually not that hard to get from that. The level design is creative, it never feels tedious, it's a game that moves along very well, and it does a pretty good job of capturing the TV show's art style. Not perfect, because it has a very distinct art style that lends itself more to close-ups and things like that, and obviously you have to be able to see more than just like the character's face for some dialogue in this type of game. But it's more than just fun, it is actually wonderful. This is honestly fairly surprising it is not an original property. It's a pretty original game, and I liked it a lot. Number 4 is Into the Dead 2, which I did play the first one of this, and this brings so much more to the table. Great improvements all around. You can say even on the most basic level, it just feels like a more solid game. It's an auto-run survival shooter, which should pretty much explain the gameplay entirely, but they do such a good job with atmosphere that honestly the game would be worth playing even if it were a little less solid. For me, it's the atmosphere that totally makes this worth it. The mood oscillates back and forth between frantic and just utterly terrified. And just for any game, not just a mobile game, it does a great job of setting that atmosphere. It's a fairly simple plot where you're intending to save your wife and kid before zombies get them, and the plot's kind of secondary to the gameplay and atmosphere. And I'll say this, while I don't love free-to-play monetization, this game handles it in a much more responsible way than a lot of its competitors, not just in the zombie area, but just in the mobile area in general, and that's something that I think goes a long way. The game's solid, fun, and worth your time. Number 3 is Guns Royale, which if you can guess, is a battle royale game. It does not play out in first person, however, this game is much more top-down and it takes that approach and does it quite well. It looks a little bit like Minecraft at first glance, but it is not Minecraft. Don't even think about Minecraft. This has a decidedly more arcadey feel than PUBG, which PUBG feels fairly arcade already, but this will make you go, oh, well, yeah, I get that. At its heart, this is pure competitive gaming. It's got a great control scheme. The more you play it, the more you have, the more interesting it becomes, and it's really well executed. Frankly, at first glance, you'd probably go, I don't know. But get over that, it is a great game. Number 2 is Middle-earth: Shadow of War, which I'm not going to go ahead and say this is the exact same game. It's not. It's a party-based RPG, and I'll say I don't know that I think that it's for everyone, but the people who it is for, the people who like these types of RPGs, it's definitely more than good. It brings the Nemesis system, which, although is a really annoying hype thing, does actually bring a level to gameplay that I do enjoy. Again, it's not the full Nemesis system, it's a slightly scaled back one, but honestly that's to be expected. It has simple combat, however, it does retain a lot of the depth of the more action-oriented full game. And I don't know how or why, but the microtransactions actually don't seem as bad in the free mobile game companion to the main game. I don't know if it's because it's free or because it's less. There's less of a loot box problem. That's not to say it's the full experience, but it is fun. And finally, number 1 is Stranger Things the game. Oh my god, Stranger Things the game. This manages to take everything that Stranger Things is about, sort of aesthetically referencing things without actually copying them, or even really getting too deep into similarities, just kind of looking like something, but then tricking you in some way. This does that with old Nintendo and Sega games, but it is so much more. It is a big point-and-click adventure that you assume the role of many different characters over the course of the story that incorporates a lot of different types of gameplay, including some small combat elements, stealth, warping between the real world and the upside down, etc., etc. And it's just a premium game that's free. There's no ads, there's no microtransactions, and you do have to consider that the game itself kind of is an ad, but honestly, if more ads were like this, I'd be fine. Seriously, why aren't people realizing that this is what you can do? This is amazing. This game is amazing. I love it. Few bonus games for you, including Underhand, which is a card game where you assume the role of a cult leader, you manage resources, and, well, do some culting. Next bonus for you is Tai Chi Panda 3, which is a really graphically intense action RPG that frankly feels like it belongs on Nintendo Switch. It's a pretty sweet game that looks awesome as well. Cybersphere Online, which is a twin-stick deathmatch multiplayer game with single player. You're not stuck playing with other people if that's not your thing. You deathmatch against robots, aliens, and cyborgs, and it's really nice. You can have up to 8 players playing together. And finally, for the kids, there's Pokemon Playhouse. This is a game where you can explore various areas, identify Pokemon, and, well, it's a great game for kids. What was your favorite free iOS or Android game of this month? Leave us a comment, and if you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now would be a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanks.